actually my county right here. But I go all over the state. I'm in the state capitol. I film and live stream a lot of these events. Just the Right Angle on YouTube and Rumble, where I film. Yes, it's an alternative to YouTube. RUMBLE, mainly green. And they're kind of, there's been several alternatives to YouTube, Shoot, and I forgot others, but Rumble's kind of the big, well, it's kind of emerging as a big alternative because YouTube is sometimes censoring people or blocking or shadow banning them and for various reasons, and it's hard to figure out why. So Rumble's kind of a more free place. But this issue I did record in Saline County, a very similar one. The libraries were...
I was there.
Yes, and of course they're... at the quorum court, the person tried to read from the book and they weren't able to because it was so obscene they couldn't read it. Well, that's the kind of stuff that's available to children. And so what they're wanting to do is, as it had to be clarified here, is not ban the book or get rid of it, but move it to an area that children can't access. And
there is some court precedent that's the same thing as banning. Would you want... I guess you wouldn't agree with the court precedent.
I would. Well, I don't know what that court precedent is,
but the Pico case, it was a Supreme Court case that it was kind of a split decision, but some of the justices ruled that is the same thing as banning. I'm not saying I personally agree with that. I'm just saying that that's what the court case says.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would be kind of up to decide what to enforce and how while the courts are in litigation. Of course, courts have litigated a lot of things, such as including the Dred Scott case and a lot of other things where they had to be overturned. So I think, most places like first thing I thought of gas stations. They have beer and cigarettes, and they put them in an area that's off limits or with some access. It should be able to do. They should be able to do something similar with books.
I totally get that, but beer and cigarettes aren't in the First Amendment.
Free speech is, but of course there are limits to some free speech because you have shops that'll have adult material. I think the lady you talked to earlier, so you mentioned the bookstore where they had the Playboy and covered it up, and they probably had a different section too. So,
but that's been the thing that I keep going back to in my head that I just can't get over is like my understanding is I'm not a lawyer, so I could be totally wrong. But obscenity is a very specific legal definition, and very few things are determined to be obscene. And these books haven't been determined to be obscene. So that's the part where I just can't. I'm having trouble connecting it.
Well, what I think they're doing is they're setting up Act 372. I'm not a lawyer either. It does is it allows parents and patrons to kind of help make some of those decisions on the basis, which is something you want. I mean, we are a constitutional republic, so the people have a lot of say. They pay for this facility. They pay for the people here. We're not, and so the library board does have a lot of sway in what they can and can't do. But there's been when you have books available that not only teach but seem to glorify things like incest and
can you name the book? People keep talking about the incest book, and I literally can't find. I just can't find it.
Oh, which one is it?
Sullivan talked about that when I was in his office. He said it was a book about incest, but he couldn't name it, and I'm wondering what that book is.
Yeah,
I'm trying to read these books that I. Is this on?
Yeah, of course. They're always on. I understand they're always being.
People love that. Like they love to have a camera with them because it's like you can. Yeah. I love having a tape recorder.
Oh my goodness.
The incest book.
They
I'm trying to find it. I just
on the Saline on my footage. Some of them hold up some of the books. Bruno the Bunny, I think, is one about a bunny that gets married to his boyfriend.
Is that bad though? If it's just if they're not, there's no. I mean, is there any sex in it?
No, that one is. But it does, again, encourage behavior that some parents might not want their children to be exposed to, and some might. So again, that's something where you can say, let's put this in a section to where if parents want to check out that book.
See, now I'm confused again because you said obscenity though. Like how is the book about a bunny getting married to a boyfriend obscenity? You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's, again, some could be defined as obscene and others defined as one to be moved for another reason. We put in a section for
I'm so confused.
Well,
legally obscene?
It doesn't. It doesn't. They don't have to take every single book, go before a court, and have a judge and have a definition. But when there's lots of material, and you have people who don't have to be lawyers, but can tell. As one person says, you'll know it when you see it.
When you see I'm really asking this. When you see the book about the gay bunny, do you feel that feeling of like, oh, I know that this is? Do you have that I know it when I see it feeling?
I would say, especially if I had kids, I'd be like, let's move this to a section where kids can't just immediately access it, but at least a parent has to have a say.
If a child of two dads, that book made them feel like included because that's their life story.
Have one of the dads come by and check it out. And have them, but again, put in a section to where if a lot of children, a lot of families who don't want that involved, they can't just, have that instantly available for access. I think that's kind of what people are moving toward, and this seems to be the consensus of this. Of course, the act that was passed overwhelmingly, the consensus of the state and even the people here is that we kind of want to have at least a little bit of, parents want to have at least some say in what little kids, but real little kids,
you wouldn't feel like, for you personally, you wouldn't think that that's discriminating against people who are LGBTQ by putting the book in a separate,
not really.
By putting a book in a separate restricted section?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's just, I think it's something that again, parents in the overall state of Arkansas, even in here, which is more Little Rock, which is one of the bluest cities in the state. I think it's something overall most parents want is they want patrons,
it's a pretty liberal area.
Yeah, but it seems like most of the crowd here seem to be for at least wanting Act 372 to go into effect. I believe it goes
totally
into effect
get that,
in
but
July.
it's the Sling County Republican women, and they often come to these events. You know what I'm saying? So it could be like that's an unfair. Putting your hand on the scale a little bit, like.
Well, I didn't take a poll of the whole crowd, but
so I don't know.
I think overall the majority of people here in the state, at least, are wanting at least some say into what very little kids can access, and of course, sometimes you have single moms.
The law applies to 17-year-olds. Like a 17-year-old couldn't check out that Gay Bunny book.
Well, I mean, it's kind of better to err on the side of caution in that case than.
I read a lot of horror novels, and it's really weird to me that like these horror novels I read, which are very scary, aren't on these lists.
Maybe that, well, it's a possibility that may be. Yeah, I know some of the graphic novels and where people get torn in half or ripped apart, and I'm sure there's various, materials besides the sexual contact that may also be on there. But again, it's erring on the side of let's give some parents and taxpayers some more sway, some more say in what can and can't be allowed. And I think overall that's the kind of general opinion. And they like Luke McCoy said, they could easily get an opinion from the Attorney General, who's got over 100 lawyers for free on more clarifying definitions, and that probably be a better way to go than to join in the lawsuit, which I'm not sure how far that's going to go and how much money it's going to spend.
You have a lot of passion about this. Do you think you'll stay on top of the story as it goes through the court system?
Yeah, I'll try to, and all over the state, because of course this is going on, and of course it's Jonesboro, they had this issue, Saline County, and there's 75 counties and several cities have been in, all of which have libraries. So, yeah, I'll try to go all over the state and try to record this as best I can, find out what all's going on, get the opinion from people, and post it and get people informed and getting involved. I would like to see more people involved in these sort of things. It is nice to see large crowds of people trying to find out, hey, what's going on with the place that I'm paying taxes for. You better, if you go to these events, you're getting used to it. Because like I said,
it's just filming me though. Is it filming you?
I think it's both of us.
Hopefully it's filming both of us. I ask a lot of people this, and it never, I feel like it's never relevant. But I always want to ask people what their favorite book is. And now that I'm doing library reporting, I can ask. So what's your favorite book?
Right now, and it probably tends to change. Besides the Bible, is probably The Hobbit.
The Hobbit.
That was I read it when I was real little, and then I had a kind of a child's version that included a record. I wish I had it because it's probably worth a lot of money. But I haven't read The Lord of the Rings, so I probably ought to do that.
There's a lot of violence in The Lord of the Rings, though.
Yes, there is.
Do you think that like a kid could read that and be hurt by it? Like,
no, not particularly. With the overall theme in Lord of the Rings and many of the other classic novels.
There's still a lot of violence in it, though. You could pick out those scenes and be like, hey, there's a lot of violence. Like,
there's a difference between showing violence and then glorifying it, and that's also the problem with some of these books, because I know one of the defenses for some of these books is, well, a child can read this and know and understand themselves better or understand if they're being abused, but I know that some of these books seem to more or less glorify behavior that kids shouldn't be involved in. And then, so that's, and again, the legal definition of obscenity or, grooming material is kind of there's certain sections which I'm not a lawyer and can't discuss, but overall, it's like there's violence in the Bible too, but it
gets brought up a lot in this conversation.
But again, it's historical. It's either historical events that happened, or it's it shows the fight against good and evil, which it's an overall theme. So again, I think in the overall scheme of things, this with Act 372 and some of these resolutions passed by the Saline Quorum Court, I don't know if Pulaski's going to do one or not, is give more parents and taxpayers more say into what, especially little kids, preschoolers that are sometimes up here and can instantly leave the side or guardianship of their parent and
Do you read these books that they're moving to relocate?
I have looked at some of them. They're also, if you go to Reopen Arkansas and Saline County Republicans, they have some excerpts of them.
Have you read the whole thing? Because I know a lot of the libraries want to do that.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, I haven't read the whole sections of them, and in most instances, you really don't have to.
But what if I just read the part of the Lord of the Rings where it's violent, and I didn't read the whole thing and get the themes? You know what I'm saying?
Does that
make sense?
Yeah, and you could go before, again, besides the board, a quorum court, and they could look that over and, determine again, would say, okay, no, this is okay because it had one instance, but, again, it allows parents to have say. It's not just like a parent can say, nope, burn it now. There's a huge process.
Yeah.
So I think overall that's probably what we'll be moving to, and I don't think this court case is going to be. I think that, number one, prosecutors haven't gone after obscenity laws in a long time. Luke McCoy mentioned that.
Well, the Supreme Court is different, so that'll be interesting. So it might be a test for them.
Yeah, I guess it makes it up there, which is going to be a while, and it probably won't be done by the time the act goes in place. So a lot can be done.
Yeah. Do you feel good about our conversation? Like, is there anything that you didn't say that you want to add, or like? You've been very gracious with your time.
Just visit me at JustTheRightAngle. I also Facebook live stream, and Rumble. It does have a live stream. I'm working on being able to actually need to fix my computer to do that, or get another phone. But eventually, I intend to inform people about this and a lot of other issues that are going on. Shout out to my folks in Harrison, Arkansas, who are fighting the crypto mining issue. That's completely separate. I know very little about it myself, but they're heavily. They had several hundred people at some of their time mission, and they're having a town hall meeting tonight at 6. And I'll try to give a shout out to them and help them out in any way. Anyway, that's about it. Thank you.
I appreciate it, and I hope we stay in touch as this continues, because it's going to be a legal battle, it sounds like.
Yes, and I'll.
If you're there.